Welcome to the Run for God Run Club, where you will find God in a runner's space.
Welcome to the Run for God Run Club. This is your one stop each week to be motivated and inspired to get off the couch and onto the running trail, where you can in turn inspire others to do the same. Let's learn, laugh, and leap into running together, giving God the glory for what we are able to do in His name. Amen. I am your running host, Dean Thompson. It is time, once again, to talk about, well, kind of about running. Mm-hmm. We're gonna dabble around running today, but we're gonna be a little off. Yeah, we're gonna be a little off topic today, right? So, but here with me, your favorite guy who is the Run for God founder, Mitchell Hollis.
Is that some kind of compliment? Or
yeah, something like that.
Is that kind of like when I say Lane's my favorite 19-year-old in my house?
Yeah,
that's kind of like that.
Very, very similar. Yeah.
All right, so before we get started, Dan, we're going to talk about our sponsor for the day. And like I said, if you own a business out there and you would like to support Run for God and allow us to support you, you can send an email to runlanehollis@gmail.com, and he'll get you all the information about being one of our sponsors. But this week, we're going to highlight One Source Business Products. One Source is Dalton's only locally owned office supply company. And if you're looking for office supplies, furniture, printing, janitorial, custom forms, or stamps, they've got you covered, and the prices are right. That's why they compare and you save. Give them a call at 706-516-3900 or try their website at onesourcebp.com. So thanks to the whole Cates family over there for their continued support. We simply can't do what we do without them.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. Hey, if you hear me coughing a little bit, I've got this cough that just won't let go. You know, it's one of those things where I don't really feel bad.
It's not COVID.
But it's not COVID. I just can't. It's just allergies, you know, and it's annoying.
Leaves are falling around here. So
yeah.
Things are blooming. Stuff's in the air.
Rain, too. Tons of rain lately.
Too much rain.
Yeah. We had a Facebook post from this past week, and this one is very short. But it's from one of my favorite dudes. Jeff Joseph just cracks me up sometimes, and this was his post one day this past week. Brain, pick it up this last 200 meters. Lungs, I haven't felt this good in years. Feet, thanks for buying good shoes. Legs, I got this. Let it rip.
Usually you hear that with the opposite side of that conversation.
You do. I think that's why this one hit me so hard.
Brain, this hurts bad.
Yeah.
Legs, I'm dying.
Yeah. He's Jeff's just he just makes you smile every time you see anything he posts, and I just wanted to share something he did just because he really does tickle me. He'll send me a personal message every once in a while, and just a really, really good guy right there, that Jeff Joseph. So thanks, Jeff, for that, and an encouragement to folks out there that maybe sometimes do kind of look at the end of that run like it's dread.
It's the way we should look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a trivia question from this past week, and it was a very general trivia question. And this is what the question was. How did cross country get its start? Did you know this?
I had no idea.
Yeah. So cross country started in England, which may not surprise many people, may surprise a lot of people. A lot of people think, well, Kenya must be Kenya. Maybe that's where it all started. The truth is that while Kenya has been really good for a long time, it's only been in the last 30 years that Kenya's been really, really in our face about how much how competitive they are on the world stage. But anyway, it started with something called the Crick Run. That sounds like a South Georgia thing, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. The Crick Run, held nearly every year since 1838.
You know, I would have swore that cross country was much older than
Wouldn't you?
I would have.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, running as a sport
dates
back, thousands of years.
Yeah.
But I guess I would have thought cross country would have too, but getting
now,
educated.
There were people doing cross country running, right? Yeah. Running literally cross country, like in Pheidippides.
Right.
But
it wasn't titled a sport.
Yeah. So cross country as a sport, as a competitive thing, in the early 19th century, almost all private schools in England had cross-country teams. In 1851, undergraduates at Exeter College of Oxford organized what they called a foot grind, which was a lot like steeplechase, We've talked about steeplechase before and how steeplechase came about because horses would race from one church to another and they would follow the steeple. And whatever was in the way, they would just jump over it. So if there were walls and fences, they would just jump over those things. And so what happened was people thought, well, that was pretty cool with horses. Let's do that with humans. And that's
because that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So a 2-mile cross-country steeplechase formed part of the Oxford University sports, in which many of the modern athletics events were founded. You know, Oxford founded a lot of stuff. They were big innovators back in this day. And that was back in 1860. And then it was replaced in 1865 by an event that were barriers over a flat field. So the idea that started with as a steeplechase eventually morphed into a track event that became the steeplechase on the track. And then cross country kind of split off into something that was a little bit different. So in 1868, there were members of a rowing club, the Thames Rowing Club, who decided they needed something to do in the wintertime. And, you know, rowing obviously is not a wintertime sport.
Right.
And so they wanted something to do, and they needed something that was, you know, cardiovascular and in nature. And so they formed the Thames Hare and Hounds in Roehampton on the southwest fringes of London, which was right near where Wimbledon is if you're a tennis fan. And that's where they had these cross-country races staged, where they would all join together and they would map out a course and they would run cross-country races. And then in 1869, a year later, they were joined by the Peckham Hare and Hounds, and then Cheshire Tally-Ho Hare and Hounds. In 1872, the Birchfield Harriers in 1877, the Cambridge University Hare and Hounds in 1880, and then the Ranelagh, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Harriers in 1881.
So where's the hare? I've heard hare and hounds before.
Well,
where does that come from? What's the context there?
That comes from a term that it's called hare and hounds or paper chasing. And so what paper chase is the hare and hound would be the person who was the hare took some paper with them, like sheets of paper, and they would go out and they would drop these sheets of paper along a route. And then the hounds would follow those pieces of paper trying to chase down the hare. And so that's how cross country basically got its start, was doing it that way. They called it paper chasing. And they found out that it's kind of like the paper was kind of a scent for the dog to follow, the hounds to follow. And of course, that created, obviously, one heck of a nuisance, you know, when you just throw paper out all over the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Then you have this problem of going back and cleaning up. We don't really like to do that. And so instead of going back and cleaning up, they just decided to change it to a race format where they were actually racing all together rather than this hare and hounds concept. So that's why all these teams started out being called that. And then the Harriers, of course, Harrier is an old term for a cross-country runner. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I probably should have saved that for a trivia question itself.
Should have.
Shouldn't I? Man. So in 1878, the sport was introduced to the United States by a guy named William C. Vosburgh. So it came to the United States relatively early in the sport. But it has never, ever been as big in the United States as it is in England. In England today, they still have clubs who do cross-country races today.
Yeah, we've talked about that on here before, where it's like, I mean, it's big events. It's spectators and...
I know. It would be fun, wouldn't it, to do that?
Yeah, it would.
I would love it. Yeah. So anyway, then 9 years later, cross-country became a formal sport in the United States, started getting into the colleges and things like that. And this is interesting. We've talked about this on here before, too, that the cross-country is not in the Olympics. It was dropped from the Olympics in 1924. And the reason why it was dropped in the Olympics was because it's not considered a summer sport. So now your next question is what? Well, why isn't it in the Winter Olympics?
Right.
But I guess it's not really. It's really a fall sport. I mean, you think about it. When we think about cross-country, we think about it as being a fall sport, even though it's not necessarily a fall sport in this country. That's what we.
There's a lot of it. There's other fall sports that are in the Olympics.
That are in the Olympics, yeah. So anyway, I don't know, but it's interesting.
But it's funny, I think, to look at cross country and how it got its start, and how, you know, we just had this conversation. We were out together this morning, and we were talking about how, you know, we have a cross country meet this afternoon, and there's already conversations about, well, there's a wet spot on the course, and should we have the kids running through that? That's how this started. It was true cross country, and it didn't matter if it was a river or a fence or what it was.
100%.
You went through it, and of course, you and I are kind of the same mind.
Yeah.
Let the kids run through the mud.
Yeah.
That will be fun. The kids will love it. Parents
Sure.
may not like it, getting in their, nice shiny new cars or whatever, but that's not our problem.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and there's actually a race we were at just a few weeks ago in Cartersville that they still have the hay bales and things, but seems like a lot of that's been taken away.
It has.
Cross country.
And over the last 10 years or so, I guess, more so than ever before, there's been this trend toward flatter, faster courses. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I like that. I like flat and fast. But at the same time, I really like the rawness of cross country and doing the other things as well. So,
yeah, like this evening, it's gloomy out, it's raining. I just think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To be down there with a camera at that muddy spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And see what happens down there.
Well, one of the things about cross country is that women didn't really run cross country until the 1960s. So it went 100 years of being a men-only sport before women started running cross country. And, of course, we know today cross country is just as popular with women as it is men.
Does that coincide? I should know this because we've talked about it on here. When did women start running the marathon?
After that. It was cross country first.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was thought that women couldn't run a long distance.
Sure.
And so, So anyway, what's another interesting thing about cross country too is that cross country is still not popular in Asian countries. Don't know why that is. But there are things that the Asian country, like in Japan, you go and they have the Ekiden races, which are relay races, which are they're team events like cross country is. So they fill that same niche that cross country fills, but it's a completely different thing. And that began way back in 1917, but it's never really caught on in Asian countries. So anyway,
well, now you know.
Yeah, very very interesting. So we've got something else coming up this coming January, right?
Yes.
The coaching the marathon challenge.
Yeah, and so we've been beating this drum for a few weeks now, and we're starting to get louder. We're starting to send correspondence out. You've probably gotten emails about this, but we're challenging everybody listening to this podcast, whether you've taught or coached a Run for God class in the past before or not. We want you to join us this January from your community. We've put the number out there. Our goal is 10,000 people starting this challenge in January. You and I cannot do that by ourselves. Our marketing, we just simply can't do that. We need hands and feet in these communities all around the country who will go out and challenge their communities to join this with us. We're going to add a little bit of a twist to this today that we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes that could potentially open the doors to even more people. But we need people in their communities, and we've made it easy. You're going to simply tune in on a Sunday night or a Monday night or whatever night you want to meet, and you're going to play the video. You're going to play the video that you and I are going to do each week for all next year, just like we've been doing for this year. You're going to talk about the questions and the conversations and really get into those faith talks, and then you're going to head out the door and run. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
You can add all the bells and whistles to it. We have some instructors out there who just – man, they put a lot of time into it.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. But it's not required. It doesn't take a lot of time. Some people will say, I don't have time. Well, do you go to church on Sundays? Do you go to church on Wednesdays? Do you run 3 or 4 times a week? Then you've got time to do this. Because you can that's the secret, that's the beauty of this challenge is you want to make it part of what you already do, because that's what you're doing. You're inviting people into your world, teaching them about the sport of running and pointing them to Christ in the process. And that's why it's so awesome. So what do you need to do? You need to go to runforgod.com and click on the coaching tab. If you're not a member of Run Club, go ahead and do that right now. 27 cents a day. The Facebook group alone is worth the price of entry. Yep. Get joined up, click on coaching, and you'll find I think it's an 8 or 9 page PDF. It's got, for all you geeks out there like me that want all the information, it's all there. You can skim through it or you can dive in and read it all. But we've made it very simple going forward this year. So we want people out there in all these communities. We've had over 6,000 coaches through the years.
Yeah.
If we just get a handful of those to join us in doing this, it'll make a humongous difference.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And listen, if you're out there, one of the things that I see all the time is I see a lot of folks who are looking for a group to run with. If you're one of those and you're looking for a group to run with and you can't find a group to run with, then you know what that means.
That's a sign.
That means you need to start that group.
Right.
You need to be the first one, and you need to get people to join you.
Now, people may be asking, where do I find groups? Well, you can go to runforgod.com and click on classes.
Yep.
Very simple. We keep it pretty simple. Click on classes, and literally you can see drop pins all over the map, really all over the world of Run for God classes, both current, future, and past classes. And so you may be in a community where you look and you see, oh, somebody's done a class in the past. Well, give them a call and say, hey, why don't you think about starting another class? I mean, a little peer pressure goes a long way sometimes.
It sure does. It sure does.
But, yeah, we need help with this, and we have no doubt that this community that is Run Club is going to step up, and we're going to knock this out of the park come January.
Yeah. So get out there and get that thing started. Again, as Mitchell said, it's going to be easy. We've made it easy. And so, listen, if you get a group, let's just say, let's think about this, okay? We get a group started. So I don't have anybody. I look, there's nobody around me. So I'm going to say I'm going to start a group. I go and I put up some posters maybe at the YMCA, at my church, and some other places, and just to try to get people to join. And let's say only 5 people show up. This is just 5 people. And maybe even after a few weeks, a couple of those folks, you only got 3 people. Well, let me ask you this. If one of those 3 people came to the foot of the cross, or if one of those 3 people just improved their relationship with Christ, or if they just lost 30 pounds and felt better, would it be worth it?
Absolutely.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Pull the trigger. Get started today.
Yeah, we always say whether you're taking the class or whether you're teaching the class. More times than not, every time I've taught a class, it's changed me.
Yep.
So you're helping those in front of you, but you're also changing your own life because it'll give you a different perspective on this sport and on life in general.
We're going to talk about a different perspective here in just a minute.
A much bigger perspective.
But before we get to that, don't forget that we are always sponsored by J Radio, and there is a Run for God channel out there. If you're part of J Radio and you've subscribed to J Radio, you get to listen to the Run for God channel, and you can listen to Mitchell's podcast, and you can listen to Dean's podcast, and you can listen to Lane's podcast, and Holly's, and Gay's. You can listen to all these different it's not podcasts, playlists.
Yeah.
And you can decide which one is the best. Now,
Mine's the best.
We know it'll be Dean's.
It is mine. We won't even talk about Lane's. I can't even understand half the words they're saying.
I will say this, though. I have downloaded a couple of the songs from Lane's playlist. Yes, because I liked them.
And just in case you're wondering, Lane is in the room with us today. He's kind of off camera doing some stuff with another camera. But yeah, I mean, mine has Southern Gospel on it. Therefore, by default, it is the best playlist.
As a mom, I want to make sure we choose a cereal that's not entirely derived from sugar. Their car seats have to be nationally CPS certified, and their first car has to have every possible safety feature known to man. I just want to do my best to make sure that they're safe. One thing I don't have to worry about is the content they hear on J Radio. Not only do they love the music, but I know it's only going to be a positive message that I would approve of. Now, if I could just figure out how to get my youngest from sticking everything up his nose.
Sign up at jradio.com and download the new J Radio app in your app store.
All right, so we're back. I beat you to the punch, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So if you haven't shared your story, we've talked about this on here a lot, and we're going to continue to talk about it. Your story is important. You may think, if you listened to the podcast a couple weeks ago, you heard the story about the vanilla testimony. And there is no such thing. There's just no such thing. We like to put a label on it. We like to say my story's not impressive, or my story's vanilla, or whatever you want to put the label on it. It's God's story. So therefore it's not plain, and somebody needs to hear it. So go to runforgod.com, go to the bottom, click on submit your story. That'll come to Dean. If you're a Run Club member, it always goes to the front of the line. But we want to hear your story because we understand, we're 82 episodes into this now, and we understand that every one of these stories impacts somebody. So we need to hear your story.
And we get correspondence. We hear from people who these stories have impacted them. I get emails all the time from people saying, "Man, I really needed to hear that what you did on the podcast." And it's somebody else's story. It's got nothing to do with what you and I are doing.
Right.
It's somebody else's story. And so, yeah, you just never know.
Never
know. Yep.
So let's change gears a little bit this week. I have the story this week.
Yeah.
And this is my dirty secret, my little secret that's been going on for a little while now.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to read this, and then we're going to talk about it, and we'll just go from there. But the title of this is An Open Letter to Walkers, My Big Secret. I'm a runner. That's been part of my identity for almost 15 years now. I run 5Ks to marathons, relays to ultras, and fun runs to Ironmans. For the past 11 years, I've become known as the Run for God guy. In January of 2010, God led me to teach a class that illustrated the parallels of faith and endurance, which is now turned into a worldwide ministry. It's been taught in over 6,000 communities around the world to over 200,000 people. Running has taken me places I may have never seen had there not been a race there. Running has been good to me, and God has used it to draw me closer to Him. Walking. We all do it every day. I walk to get where I'm going, yet I've never considered myself a walker. I have nothing against walkers. It's just never been my thing. For the past 15 years, I've thought to myself that if I were going to exercise, it needed to be in the form of running and not walking. Not because I feel it's inferior, but because I could get it done quicker. I could get my competitive fix, and because it's just part of who I am. I'm a runner, not a walker. We've had more than one request through the years to create a Walk for God division of Run for God. My answer has always been pretty simple. No. I've never been accused of being evasive or not clear about what I'm thinking, even when times I probably should, as my wife would say. So why not walk for God? Because this is Run for God. And Run for God was created to disciple runners and to introduce those who have never run to the sport of running. You may be asking, Mitchell, where are you going with this? Well, I'm glad you asked. In 2020, we began the journey of Run Club. This would be a community of runners of all abilities who could train together, pray for each other, share with one another, and just be part of everything that Run for God has to offer. I began to see that this new format could make room for walkers, always knowing in the back of my mind that my goal would be to eventually encourage them to run. In 2020, we even began including a walking plan in the 5K challenge that would allow walkers to reach a 5K safely and injury-free. If that were not enough, I even began to walk. Early in 2020, I began to experience some knee pain that I had dealt with on and off for years. My years of kneeling down, swinging hammers had taken their toll. The pain was not terrible, but enough to be an inconvenience. Or was it just enough to change my thinking? Since my knee was not cooperating, and since we were now including a walking plan as part of our 5K challenge, I thought, maybe I'll just walk in 2020 and see what it's all about. Why so many people have suggested it through the years. So walking I did. By mid-2020, I was walking 50-plus miles a week. I quickly began to see the draw. Not that I was becoming a walker, but I understood why some love it. You can for sure get your heart rate up. You can absolutely challenge yourself, and you can for sure make yourself sore in places you never knew you had. Was I becoming a walker? No way. I was just trying something new, and in 2021, I'd be back to pounding the pavement. Fast forward to the fall of 2020. My knee was feeling better. I had a few thousand miles of walking under my belt, and it was time to get my running shoes back out. How better to jump back into running than to commit to a marathon? The safe way, of course. We began to plan the Couch to Marathon Challenge starting January of 2021. The response was incredible. 1,700 people signed up to start this journey with us, and by mid-January, we were off. My knee felt great, my running was coming back nicely, and walking seemed to be a thing of the past. I've always said that God will get your attention by whatever means necessary. God had given me hints through the years that we needed to open the doors to walkers. But was my argument. I walked for almost a year, God. We even put an insert into the 5K challenge, I found myself telling God. Looking back now, it's the same thing I do with God almost every time he asks me to step outside my comfort zone. I began to brag about how I stuck my big toe into the waters that he was asking me to jump into. This past August, during week 1 of the half marathon challenge, I knew I had a problem. My knee pain was creeping back in. I can run through it. I can go get a cortisone shot. I can tough it out. But God was saying, just walk. But God, we've already been here. I'm a runner, not a walker. Sometimes it seems as though our arguments fall on deaf ears. Since that is all I got. Silence is all I got. You know, I often pray for streetlights. And the streetlight God had given me was in the form of an 18-minute mile. So walking I went. It's funny how I would describe it in the beginning. I would tell people that I had just got done with a workout, not a run. When people asked how far I ran that day, I found myself not correcting them, but rather answering, I got in such and such miles. Was I ashamed? I don't think so. Was I in denial? Surely not. Was I embarrassed? I really don't know. I just knew that this was my secret and no one besides me and my inner circle needed to know it. God began to reveal something to me, almost the same conversation he had with me 11 years prior. My identity had become the Run for God guy, a runner, and walking flew in the face of that. God said, your identity should be my child, and running or walking should simply be something you do. Ouch. Just like I've never been accused of mixing words, neither is God. So what now? I'm a walker, plain and simple. I will be walking a marathon this January, and Lord willing, I will do it in under 7 hours. Am I still a runner? You bet. In fact, on my last long walk, I actually ran some and my knee felt great, but I'm going to continue to walk. Why? Because for now, I'm enjoying it. There are many people who would love to be part of what we do at Run for God, but would rather walk, and so I will walk with them. Next year for the Couch to Marathon Challenge, we will have a walkers division and special instructions just for them. Dean will be the running coach, and I will be the walking coach. Will there be a special t-shirt just for walkers? Now, let's don't go get ahead of ourselves, but let's just say it's in the works. The bottom line is that God has shown me and reminded me of some things over the past 2 years, and I'm better for it. First, as a believer, your true identity is in Christ. Running or walking is simply what we do. Some people can run, but choose to walk, and that's okay. When you pray for street lights, be prepared to follow the path he lights. You can push your body and mind just as hard walking as you can running. The world record 5K is 18:05, so I've still got plenty of room to improve. So, if you're out there and you've ever considered getting active but don't want to run, how about give walking a try? Join me and the rest of the Run for God family this January as we run, walk, and shine the light of Jesus to the endurance community. Run for God is and will always be who this ministry is and what we do. But there's another group of people who would like to join us, and we're simply opening the door and saying, come on in.
That's so awesome. And such a neat, because we've talked about this. How many times has it been brought up? How many times have we talked about Walk for God? And
we fought it.
And yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, you fought it a lot harder than anybody else.
I have.
And it's funny that God smacks you with this, the whole realization. And it's God works in such an awesome way.
Yeah.
So often. And it's been fun, because what people out there don't know is, of course, I'm part of that inner circle you were talking about. I've known you've been doing this.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of the things that you've done as a walker are crazy. I mean, a little bit outside. You mentioned walking 50 plus miles a week. That's a lot of walking. That's a lot.
But you know what I found through that time, especially last year? I mean, I was walking 6, 7, 8 miles a day, and I found that I can, I could work walking.
Yeah.
I could take my phone and I could do emails. I could text people. I could get things done walking. And so it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as much of a time consuming thing as you might think it would be. But another thing that we've literally just done, like literally before we walked into this podcast, I did my half marathon.
Yeah.
And I had a guest with me.
Yeah, you did.
So how was it to walk a half marathon?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. For if you're out there and you're a runner and you're like, well, walking, no, that's not a real thing. Let me assure you, I walked and we walked pretty briskly. And
we did it in just under 3 hours.
Just under 3 hours. But I'm going to tell you what, my glutes are cramping. They're like locked down. Like I need to get up every once in a while and stretch out.
Yeah.
So it's just using a whole different group of muscles, and so it's different. And I'll tell you what, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it was something different, and I like different. A lot of people don't like to do things that aren't what that main thing that they do, but I enjoy doing stuff different from time to time. And so I was actually, when you asked me about doing it, my first thought was, I really don't have time for that. My second thought was, I'd really like to do that, though.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did.
Now, before you go thinking out there listening to this that Run for God is turning into Walk for God, it's not.
No.
It's not. We're simply opening the door for a new family to come in. Run for God will always be what it is. And will I ever run another marathon? Absolutely. Will I do another Ironman? Probably so. But for this year and next year, I want to go through it 1 year with a group of people.
Yeah.
And who knows? Those people might turn into runners. But I think we've just all we're doing here is simply lowering the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and if you're out there and you're an instructor, you've seen this. It's very intimidating to say I'm going to start running. That's very intimidating. It's scary for some people because they're they may be overweight, they're out of shape, they haven't been active in years and years and years, and I can be pretty persuasive when trying to recruit people, but some people, it's just a hard no.
Yeah.
But if the option is to enter this process with just walking, which is what we all do every day anyway, then we could bring more people into the fold with the goal of reaching more people for Christ in the process. That's the goal.
And you may be out there listening to this and you're thinking, well, I've been walking. I've been part of Run for God for a long time, and I've been walking. Because we have a lot of those folks. Because people ask all the time, well, is it okay if I walk? And we've always welcomed runners.
Yeah.
We've never said, no, you can't be part of Run for God because you're a walker.
Right.
But at this point, what we're doing is we're saying we're going to make this more formal. We're going to not only welcome walkers, but we're going to go out of our way.
Each week, I'm going to be talking directly to the walkers.
Yeah.
And saying, here's the training plan for running. Well, here's how we're going to do it if you're walking. Yeah. Because it is just a little different. Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly similar.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But yeah, you're right. We're kind of making it formal. We're defining the relationship to walking.
Yeah. Another thing about walking, and I didn't know this until we really started talking about this seriously, but the world record
it's crazy
walk for 5K is 18:05.
Yeah.
18:05 is crazy fast.
I've never been, I have been within a minute and 50 seconds of that on my fastest 5K running ever. So that and you and I today, because there's technique to walking fast.
Right.
And I'll probably never want to do that.
Right.
For a variety of reasons. But there's technique there, and it's hard to do. You and I, toward the end of our walk today, we said, let's pick it up and see how fast we can go. I guarantee we probably never got below 10-minute pace.
Probably not.
Because it's hard to do. I don't see how they do it.
Yeah.
Because you got to, one foot always has to be on the ground.
Right.
And your carry-through leg has to be straight.
Yeah.
That's really the only two rules for walking.
Yeah.
But that carry-through leg being straight is the kicker. Yeah. That's the one that's hard because it doesn't sound hard, But when I was doing some of these intervals walking, I didn't really know that was the rule, and I could get pretty fast on a walk if I had both legs bent. But that's against the rules.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of strategy to it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what, a couple of things about running. First of all, walking can be a pretty good exercise if you go at it hard. Now, what a lot of people do is they think walking and they think it's just a stroll, like the same pace you'd walk if you were grocery shopping. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're talking about. One thing we do want to encourage people is if you're going to come and you're going to be a walker, we want you to challenge yourself.
Sure.
We want you to try to walk faster. Because the faster you walk, first of all, the more calories you burn, which is always good. But the higher the fitness level, the faster you walk, the higher your fitness level will become, and you'll be thankful for that higher fitness level, and you can challenge yourself pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this to you already over the past few months. I said, I did a particular track workout walking, and I told you, I said that was as hard as any running track workout I've ever done because, and I'll dive into kind of the training here for just a second, and I'm feeling this out myself too right now, so that's why I'll have it all lined up in January for everybody, but the way this works is extremely very similar to the training system we do for the running right now, in that we typically have a timed mile, and that sets your paces for your tempo, that sets your paces for your intervals, and that sets your pace for your long run. Well, the way I started experimenting with this is I did that same exact thing, but just walking. So I went out on the track, and I walked a mile as fast as I could walk a mile. Now, from the first time I did it to the second time I did it, I learned a lot about how to do it, and I got a lot faster. But I was down in the mid-10s for a mile on my second one, which that's a very fast walk. So, that set my repetition pace. I took a minute to a minute and a half slower than that. That set my tempo pace, and then a 2 to 3 minutes slower than that. That set my slow pace. Well, if you do the math, even to my slow pace, that's still pretty fast.
Yeah, and it all works out too because we did that this morning. At that pace. Yeah, right.
We were doing 13 and a half minute pace for walking, and so we're not saying leisurely paces here, because if you're signing up for a marathon, which you can absolutely. I think I might be able to do one in under 6 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
But you have to challenge yourself still to do this. And I just think it's going to open the door to a whole different group of people.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it because I've told the story on here before about how, I'm a faster runner. I enjoy running fast. I love hanging out with the fast guys and talking shop with the fast guys and talking about races, and I love all of that. But Run for God really brought me to a point where I really started appreciating the slower runners, the back of the packers. And the more I've gotten to know them, the more I love talking running with them just as much as I do those guys at the front. And now this is just a whole new category of people I've never really thought about walking. I mean, I've obviously thought about walking, but from the way we're doing it, I really think, and I may be wrong here. I've never Googled it, but I'll bet you this is pretty revolutionary. To do a walking program the same way you do a running program, basically, has got to be fairly revolutionary. I've never seen it. I haven't either.
I looked for it because I wanted to know if I was doing this right.
Yeah.
So I was kind of my own guinea pig, and it feels right. Now we're about to go from a half marathon to a marathon, which may pose some different challenges, but I don't think it will.
Yeah.
I mean, the principles are solid because, I mean, let's be honest. There's some people out there that their fastest mile running on a track is in the 10-minute range. So there's some people who I'm walking as fast as they're running, and I'm not saying that to say anything else than the principles work for them running at a 10:30 pace. Why wouldn't it work for me walking at a 10:30 pace? Now, like I said it in the letter, you feel different things.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you experienced this morning, muscles are worked very differently, and so that may take some getting used to for some people. But, I think what I want to do in this process and what I really felt God is leading me to do is let's tear the shroud of, I don't know what it is. There's
almost like a stigma attached from runners towards walkers.
Right.
And we want to get away from that.
And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because we're all out there for the same goal.
Right.
The goal might not be to win the race, but the goal is to get healthy.
Right.
And to get fit. And you can do that walking.
Yeah.
Would I imagine myself 10 years ago saying that? No.
Nope.
Would I imagine you and I 10 years ago sitting where we're sitting right now? No.
Yeah.
But I think God's just opening the door to something that we don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this is going to hit people.
Yeah.
But I hope they come around to the fact, like I have, that we have a bigger goal here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to get people fit. We want to get people active. We've heard the stories of how this has helped with people's marriages, their relationships, all the different things that this ministry has done. But at the end of the day, it's getting people who don't know Christ to the foot of the cross.
Right. And
if we can do that through walking, then let's start walking.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
no kidding. Yeah, and that's always been this. There's a perception that people who run faster have a little bit of disdain for people who run slower, which I honestly don't feel like that's a thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there. There's always some crazy person out there who thinks crazy things. But I know there's a lot of people who are runners who look at walkers and go, well, that's not, that's okay exercise, but it's better than not being on the couch, but it's not real. It's real. It's real. It's real. Yep. I think about it when this past week I drove a bus, and this bus, I don't know where we got this bus from. It didn't have power windows. It had power nothing. It didn't have cruise control, nothing. Well, by the time I got home, it was only a 5-hour drive. It's not like I was driving forever. By the time I got home, my leg hurt so bad because I'm normally putting mine on cruise control and going, and holding my foot in that position for that long was hard.
Yeah.
So anytime you do something a little bit different, it's going to be
kind of like I get wore out at the gas pump now when they don't have the thing that clicks down. And you got to sit there and hold it for the whole time.
Your hand starts to cramp.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's take a break real quick, and we'll come back and we'll finish this conversation.
All right. While you are working hard to keep your body in shape physically, the music you listen to while you run can help keep you in shape spiritually. We have partnered with J Radio to put together a group of running playlists by Mitchell, Lane, Holly, me, and others that you hear on the Run Club podcast. Plus, you can listen to a playlist put together by members of Run Club just like you. Check out the whole station of Run for God playlists now at jradio.com and in the J Radio app. All right, we are back, and we're talking about walking today. Who would have thought that we would have a podcast? Certainly when we started this podcast 82 episodes ago, we never would have thought we'd have a walking episode.
I honestly didn't think we'd be here 82 episodes later.
Well, that's true, too.
We must be good at talking.
We've outlasted common sense.
But I'm glad we're here.
Yeah, me too. We're having fun. Yep. So you had a conversation with Lane recently.
Yeah.
About this whole walking versus running thing.
So
right?
it goes to my point. And Lane's sitting off camera, and he's going to want to jump on these microphones, and we're not going to let him.
That's right.
But we were talking about, I read this letter to my family. So Holly and Lane and Landon, we have a study time every night where we usually go through something. And so the other night, or last night, was it last night? Not before last. I read this letter, and so we started into the conversations about why, and just the things we've already talked about. And Lane has a problem with the speed walkers, the professional, because I mean it's an Olympic sport,
Right.
and you know he said why would you do that? Now Lane is a professional triathlete, an elite runner, so you know we can discount what he says because of that fact.
Because he's not normal.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it goes to the thinking that some of us have had, and it's why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And the answer to me is pretty simple, because some people just want to do it. Mm-hmm. You said something on this podcast, I don't know, a month or two ago that really stuck out to me. And you made the comment, you said, I understand why some people don't want to run.
Yeah.
I get it. You said that.
Yep.
And that's the people we're talking to here.
That's right.
We're not trying to encourage people who want to run. We're not trying to give them an out. That is not what we're doing. We're going to keep pushing you to run.
Matter of fact, we don't want you to take that out.
Right.
Yep.
Because if you failed in your spirit and it's been your goal to run, then by all means you need to run. We're talking to the people who have said, I don't want to run, but I want to get healthy, and I want a place to do that. That's who we're opening the door for.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, one of the things that really hit me is, you know, Gay Coker does most of our proofing because you and I can absolutely butcher writing. And so she is a lot of times she's our last line of defense before things go out. And even through her, sometimes things slip out. But she read my letter the other day, and she said, I just want you to know that this is going to be huge. Because for me, for Gay, she said, it seems like it's taken such a sense of guilt away. Because Gay's been walking. Gay has had some medical issues over the past couple years, and she's been walking. Shannon's been, man, he's been running nonstop. But Gay has for a variety of reasons, she's been walking. And she's had this sense of guilt. Mm-hmm. Almost the same sense that I had a few months ago when I started back doing this, and people would ask me, how many miles did you run today? And I say, I got in 6.
Yeah.
So I wasn't being completely honest. But it was that cloak of, I guess, guilt that as a society of runners we've kind of put out there, and we need to take that away.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, because at that point you're thinking, well, I'm walking, so it's less than.
Right.
But it's not less than.
Right.
It's equal to.
Sure.
In many, many ways. Now, there are some things about running that are clearly better than walking.
Sure.
For example, you burn almost twice as many calories when you run as you do when you walk. Well, that's a benefit. If that's your goal, is to burn a lot of calories, then just realize you're going to have to walk twice as long to get the same benefit that you do.
But
you can do that.
If you're one of the, I mean, and I'm not saying this in any derogatory way at all. But we have said there are some people who can walk faster than they run.
That is true.
I mean, I can think of 2 people in my head right now that I know and are very close friends. They're very slow runners, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't put words in my mouth. There's nothing wrong with that. But those 2 particular people would burn more calories walking.
Yeah.
Because they will actually get their heart rate up and walk faster than they were running. So everybody is unique, and I don't know. I just have a really funny feeling that there's a lot of people out there who are going to be drawn to this.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case.
I think you're right. And all we're saying is all you people out there who really, really, all you really want to do is walk and maybe get fitter. Well, what we're saying is, come on in. We're going to give you a big hug. I'm
going to walk with you.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I had one of the magazines that we did a few years ago. I interviewed a couple of ladies from up in Chicago who were Cisneros, I think was their last name, who were competitive walkers. And I talked to them a little bit about their training, and you know, we were talking before about it. Has anybody ever done this? Well, I think these competitive walkers do, but I think they're the only ones that do.
Right.
And so, because I would talk to them, and because I couldn't get in my head, because you know how competitive walkers have a form that's different, and it looks a little different.
It does.
And we like to, but if you want to do that, really, truly, seriously, think about it. If you wanted to walk that way, well, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That comes down to that form thing I was
It
talking
does.
about, and that's how you get to those really fast speeds.
Right.
Is you have to change the way you walk.
Yep. And one of these ladies just this past year, the NAIA, which, Dalton State College is part of the NAIA. NCAA doesn't have competitive walking. They don't have a marathon, but the NAIA does.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that segment of our population, and there aren't many of them, that's where they go to be competitive. So it's pretty cool. You asked the question, how many people do you think have passed on what we do because they don't want to run? And how many of those do you feel will take a second look now? I think that's a good question because I know there are those out there. I've had phone conversations, I know, with a number of folks that kind of had that attitude that I really just want to walk.
I know many people personally,
Yeah.
just in my sphere of influence,
Yeah.
who that is the case.
Yeah.
A lot of them is the older generation, but a lot of them are not.
Yeah.
They just don't want to run.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting this morning. We walked for 3 hours this morning, and in the end, I never really breathed all that hard. I did a little bit, going up some hills and stuff, but not really, not like I'm used to from
Right.
running. But I got a workout in. I guarantee you that.
You'll feel it in the morning.
I am. I'm feeling it now. What are you talking about in the morning? And you know how it is when you get old like me. If you can feel it now, it's going to be. It may not be that bad.
2 days
tomorrow
later.
morning.
Yeah. 2 days
Yep.
later.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out.
And like I said, I mean, I'm being honest when I say that I think it was 12 400s
Yeah.
was the workout that the marathon group was supposed to be doing. And I've done every workout exactly how you're supposed to do it for the runners. I've done it walking. And I'm not kidding. 12 400s walking at a 10 something pace
Yeah.
is hard.
That'll get you going.
It is hard. And I would do 200 walks in between, and then I would go right in, so there was no stopping. And I mean, it got in my lungs, not nearly as much as if you were running and doing repetition pace, but getting into your legs, absolutely. I mean, it hurts.
So here's kind of what we're saying, right? If you're out there and maybe you've been a part of Run for God for a long time, maybe you haven't been with Run for God for a long time, but you've probably had people who know that you're a part of Run for God and they're not runners. This gives you the opportunity to recruit some of those people in to do something maybe a little bit different. Listen, I just, at this point in time, there's only one excuse anybody can use for not becoming a part of Run for God as a walker, and that is I don't have time. And that's typically not a great response anyway. But I mean, other than that, what's
Gotta
the
make
reason?
time. Yeah.
Almost anybody can do it.
Yeah. I mean, so when you go out and you ask people, hey, why don't you join Run for God this January and do the Couch to Marathon Challenge? And I can't run. Oh, good. We have a walking program too. And we're even, I mean, by the time this comes out, we will have social media posts that you can use. So if you're coaching the Couch to Marathon next year, we're going to have promotional stuff that you can put out there. We've always said walkers are welcome, but we're going to have it in marketing materials too now going out. And it will be different in some degree, especially into the marathons. I'm trying to think through that right now. But from the 5K all the way to the half marathon, I have done nothing different than if I were running. It's the same, just different paces.
Yeah.
Intensity is still on par with the running.
Yeah.
Meaning that you're going by, you still got to vary your paces. Now, you still can't have not done any. I hate to say you've never done any walking, because we all walk every day.
Right.
But if you come out and you tried to walk a half marathon and you've never done anything like that before, you can get injured just like if you tried to go run a half marathon. It's not going to be good. So you still have to, if you've been sedentary for years, then you still got to walk through this process. Pardon the pun. You've still got to walk through this process. But we're going to take you through it. So the classes really won't be different, but we will be talking to both groups each week. And we will have something a little bit special for each group each week starting in January.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're out there and you've been worried about being identified as a walker instead of a runner, here's what we're saying. We want you to be proud of it.
Yep.
We want you, just like, there are times I was just talking with somebody. This was crazy. Somebody's taking an RRCA class, learning how to be a coach. And they had called me and asked me some questions. And they were talking about their instructor who they were wearing a Run for God shirt in their class. And the guy called them out on the Run for God shirt. And I said, I know his name. And I called his name. And sure enough, same guy that I went through the class with that called me out in class. And but you know what? That person did the same thing I did. They kind of stood up loud and proud and said, yeah, I'm a Christ follower. That's what I do. That's who I am.
Right.
And what we're saying is, as a walker, that's what we want you to do. Right. We want you to stand up and go, I'm a walker.
Yeah.
And by gosh, I'm proud of it.
And being a walker and a runner is not mutually exclusive.
That's right.
I'm a runner. I'm still a runner.
That's right.
No question. But I'm also a walker. And you know what the only difference in those two are? Either one foot's on the ground or no foot's on the ground. Yeah. That's the only difference.
That really is.
It's the only difference in the two.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've kind of dedicated this whole hour to walkers.
Yeah.
And we've done it for good reason because we needed to.
Yeah.
This has been a long time coming. We've had, to people's credit, we've had lots of people through the years. Are we going to have walkforgod.com, walkforgod.net, walkforgod.org? Well, you know a funny thing? When I bought runforgod.com 11 years ago, guess what else I bought? walkforgod.com, walkforgod.org, and walkforgod.net. Now, I bought a lot of other things too, but that was in that repertoire.
Yeah.
So will it have its own website? For now, no. Because everything is so similar.
Right.
But who knows where God will take this? Like I said, we never saw ourselves sitting here 82 episodes later.
That's right.
Only God knows what the future of this thing holds, but we're just trying to be obedient and walk to that next light post.
That's right. The bottom line with Run for God in general is getting outside your comfort zone.
Sure.
That's what it's all about. It's going and doing something hard. And for many people, this is going to take you down and get you just as far outside your comfort zone as the Run for God program ever has. And I mentioned before, we need to be clear about this. Walking, way better than sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're saying is we just want to see people get healthy, and this is a good way to do it. And I know a guy. He was a decathlete in college at the University of Georgia. Heck of an athlete.
Yeah.
Great athlete. And you know what he does today? He walks and walks and walks. He drives our bus for us when we go on trips. We get up in the morning. He's walking in the morning, early in the morning. He'll be walking right up until we pull the bus out. As we're loading the bus up, he's pulled the bus up, opened the doors. He's walking around the parking lot of the hotel until we get done, and then he gets in and then we get there and he walks some more.
Well, I told you this morning, the cool thing about walking is there's really no warm up or cool down.
That's right.
You just step out of the truck and go walking.
Yeah, it was cool this morning. We got through with 3 hours of activity and my shirt wasn't soaking wet.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, for some people, I realize I say that and some people are like, well, I'd be sweating. Well, I get that, but it is. It's a little bit easier to go from. It's easier to go from walking to a meeting or something than it is to go from running to a meeting or something.
Yeah.
Although I do it all the time. So, Debbie and I were thinking about this last night, right? So we were talking about, do we need a clever name for the walkers? So here's some of the things that we just kind of looked up some stuff, and here's some of the stuff we found. Walking 9 to 5. Cirque du sore legs. Legs Miserable. How about holy guacamoles? We laughed so hard last night.
You're just getting goofy now.
Yeah. Chafing the dream. No, come out and join us if that's what you want to do. Then we've got a spot for everybody now, don't we?
And I'm going with you.
Yeah.
If you've ever participated in any sport, you've probably met a great coach. Great coaches inspire us to do more than we ever thought possible. You can be the leader that helps others achieve things they never thought possible. Yes, you have the ability and the opportunity to be that person. All you need is a heart to help people and the ability to follow a plan. The Run for God 5K Challenge will come ready to help you inspire those around you. The step-by-step guide will direct you how to plan, pray, and train people both physically and spiritually. You can help them become more fit in their health and in their walk with Christ. Share your passion. Go to runforgod.com to find out how to inspire others to accomplish big things.
All right, we're back, and you know it's getting cooler outside finally, right? I know you're a big fan of the cool
love
weather.
I love it.
You like it as much because it's a hunting season, right?
I like to hunt. I love the fallen leaves. I love campfires. I love being outside this time of year. I like walking this time of year.
Yeah. From a running perspective, you know what? It's time to get out the long sleeves and the gloves and the jackets and all the stuff we need for running in the cold weather.
Yeah, and since you said that, we've got the Holly and Gay has put together a endurance Run for God jacket. Neither one of us have one on. I think we're getting some examples made that we can wear. Pretty cool jackets. They have the thumb holes, and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, I've got one at home.
Do you?
Yeah, she gave me one last year when she was trying to.
Why am I just now getting one?
I don't know.
I guess they like you better.
I guess so.
But yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
We might even get Lane one. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, Lane said he's had one for 4 months, so I'm the last
You're the
one
only
to
guy.
get one. So.
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do you need one? Yeah, I want to encourage you. If you're out there and you're one of those people who's a seasonal runner or walker, and you stop running or walking in the wintertime and in the middle of the summertime, I want to encourage you not to do that. I want to encourage you to keep it going, right? Walking in the cold won't hurt you. Now, a lot of people, especially that first time they walk in the wintertime, their lungs will burn real bad, and they'll be like, oh, this is not good for me, because it feels like it's bad for you. It's not.
Great for you.
It's not. And what will happen is you be consistent, and you do that day after day, and after a few days, all that hurt from that cold air will go away. So you just want to encourage you. Keep going.
Be a year-round runner and walker.
Yeah. Now, I did talk to a friend of mine one time whose his girlfriend was a school teacher. And so she took this job in Alaska as a school teacher. Well, it wasn't just Alaska. So if you've ever looked at the map of Alaska, you know that you got that big trail of islands that go out towards Russia. She was in the next to last island in that chain, way out in the middle of the ocean. And he told me, he said, if you want to see what cold looks like, he said, get on Google Maps and just look at Google Earth and look that up. Well, I did. You can't run there in the wintertime.
Well, it's kind of like this past winter. Even up north, it was negative 50 in places.
Yeah. That does get dangerous at that point.
Yeah.
But
there's treadmills.
Yeah, sure. And down to 20 degrees, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, back during Corona, I remember seeing videos. There were people, especially like in France, they had complete draconian lockdowns. You could not go outside your house. Did you see the videos of people running marathons back and forth in their balconies?
That's all. I did see that, yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
No excuses.
I have done that myself. I have mapped out. I've measured the floor in a hotel room before because I didn't get my 1 mile in and run back and forth long enough to get in my 1 mile.
Well, you've also got to run in an airport before, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could get away with that nowadays.
That wasn't that long ago. It was
Really?
just 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I figured TSA would be taking you down.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. All right. How about a trivia question for this week? Here's the trivia question for this week. And I want you to research this. I don't want you just to find the answer, okay? The answer is obviously what we're looking for. But I want you to look at this guy a little bit closer. Here's the question. Who holds the men's Olympic record in the marathon? I want you to look at that guy's life and learn a little bit about that guy because it's very interesting. Tragic and amazing at the same time. So check that out, right? And if you know the answer to that one, if you've Googled it and you want to answer that question,
I think I know the answer.
Dean at runforgod.com is where you send the answer. First one to send it to me, correct answer, wins.
It's got to be Dean at runforgod.com.
That's right.
Can't be Facebook Messenger. Can't be customer service at runforgod.com.
Yep.
Got to be Dean at runforgod.com.
Yep. And you can win a Run Club box. So send us your T-shirt size and your address, and we'll.
Is this person the obvious answer that I'm thinking?
I don't know.
Do you know who it is, Lane?
No. Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you know who it is.
Wow.
It's not somebody running today. I'll put it that way.
Well, then my answer would be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Here is a reason why running is so awesome. Every week we share one, and here's why running is so awesome this week. War stories. Who doesn't love to get through with a race and tell the story about their race right after they get through with it?
So there I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, 2.5 miles. There was this bear on the side of the road and whatever, It's just,
But you always have that guy
Yeah.
who didn't run the race that he wanted to run, and you start hearing not the war stories, but the excuses.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I had a 25-miler yesterday, or
Yeah. Yeah.
well, just say you got beat.
And the cool thing about war stories is that, it's kind of like soldiers at war, right?
Yeah.
It brings us closer together
Sure.
to talk about and share those things. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a fast runner sharing with a slow runner.
Yeah.
I love sharing stories. I'm going to run a 10K in 35 minutes, and I loved sharing with that person who ran 55 minutes. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It brings us together. It's awesome. All right, our motivational thought of the week is this. Comes from Mark Kane, who is he's kind of a tech guy, policy guy. He kind of dabbles in a number of things. I like this. It says, the first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be a captive of the environment in which you first find yourself. So how many people out there say, well, I'm just kind of a victim of my circumstance? Well, I've got asthma. I can't run. I can't walk.
Sure you can.
You're not a captive of your environment.
Yeah.
You got to get outside of that. And you know what? The further you get outside your comfort zone, the more benefits you get. And it's
The more you get outside your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone gets.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right about that. That's pretty good. We'll have to use that one week.
I think I got that from somebody. But
Oh, okay. Well,
that's not original.
Yeah, we like to think we're a victim of circumstance, but today, in today's world, we see a lot of anti-Christian stuff that makes us think we're a victim. We're not a victim. We win.
We're victors. Yeah,
we win.
absolutely.
We define the success. So don't let yourself be a captive of your environment. Break out of that. And because bottom line is you're God's no matter what, right? All right, everybody, you're doing great. Keep it up. Keep supporting one another. Keep edifying one another. We're so proud of everything that you do. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. Don't forget to go out there and rate our podcast, right? And let people know about us so we can get more folks listening. We can make this train a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. So help us with that. And may God bless every step of every run. Go out there and shine your light.
Good job, Dean.
For more information about the Run for God ministry, go to runforgod.com. If you have questions about your salvation, click on the Peace with God tab. There's nothing more important. Thanks for joining us today.